Hello, thanks for joining us on your channel of choice at this time, Africa Independent Television, AIT. Welcome to Focus Nigeria, your program in which we put the searchlight on topical issues in the polity. My name is Benga Aruleba. Now, let's do it differently today. Our discussion on corruption continues for obvious reasons. Yesterday, the Senate also did the needful by passing the NFIU bill. Senator Chukwuka Utazi had laid a report on Tuesday, but there was no time enough for him to proceed to the next stage. But yesterday, that chance came, and he led the debate, which led to the passage of the bill. This was how it went in the upper legislative chamber yesterday.
That the Senate received the conference committee report on a bill for an act to establish the Nigerian Financial Intelligence Agency as a central body in Nigeria responsible for receiving, requesting, analyzing, and disseminating financial intelligence reports and other information to law enforcement, security and intelligence agencies, and other relevant authorities, and for related matters, 2018, I so move.
I want to thank the members of the Senate for the action we have taken here again in the fight against corruption, because our suspension from the Egmont Group has a lot of ramifications. I hope that by this bill that we have passed today, the conference report, that they will have a second view.
All right, that was how the NFIU bill was passed in the Senate yesterday. So we'll be looking at that issue in our discussions because distinguished Senator Chukwuka Utazi will be joining me shortly. But let me quickly update you on other developments in the polity, and let's still begin with the National Assembly as well, particularly the Senate too. The NFIU bill passage was not the only thing that happened in the National Assembly. The issue of non-audit of the accounts of most parastatals also came up, and it was a pathetic report, a pathetic situation painted by the Senate Committee on Public Accounts to the effect that most of the parastatals, over 400 or so of them, are not auditing their reports, their accounts every year as required by law. Some of them, like the EFCC for instance, have never had their accounts audited since they were created. The Senate has therefore resorted to hard measures to force the parastatals to obey the law.
The Senate Public Accounts Committee observed with sadness that many parastatals are in arrears in the submission of their audited accounts to the Office of the Auditor General for comments as required by the Constitution. This act is also a violation of the enabling acts of these agencies.
Which part of the Constitution there specifically says that these agencies must submit the report to the Auditor General? And then I see EFCC that is meant to be in charge too. Are you sure what you're saying?
We are very sure. That's why we have made the recommendation to the Senate. The decision must be taken now.
Well, because I'm going through here, you say 85 parastatals. I've never since inception. Can that be true? Is that possible? Defaulting parastatals in arrears of submission of audited accounts should be compelled to clear their arrears.
That was also how it went on that issue. We may also be touching on it a little bit, because if we are talking of corruption and you have agencies of government, particularly those ones who generate revenue and don't even audit their account as the law requires, there's a problem there, a big problem. But we just hope that the introduction of the Treasury single account may have curbed some of the excesses of these agencies and their exposure to slush fund that they just spend without the approval of the National Assembly. Let's move on. It's International Women's Day today. It's a day set aside to celebrate women's achievements in history. In Nigeria, particularly, our women have proved their mettle. No doubt about that, and we must give it to them. They deserve to be celebrated today. Talk of Nigerian women like Queen Abina, Madam Eforo Tinubu, Moremi, Mrs. Fumilayo Ransom Kuti, Hajia Gambo Sawaba, Mrs. Oyibo Dinamadu, Mrs. Margaret Ekpo, Mrs. Young, Mrs. Young was actually a parliamentarian in the Eastern region way back in the First Republic, the first woman to be so elected. We have Haji Asabe Yankarezo, who was a leading member of NEPU in those days. And I think she also became a member of the PRP subsequently before she passed on. And of course, in the modern day, talk of the likes of Mrs. Biola Babatokpe. She was a member of the House of Reps in the Second Republic. And then latter day, the likes of Joe Oke Odumakin, Aisha Oshori, Joy Ezelo, Ebere Fendo, Hawa Shekarau, Biola Kiode, Obieze Kwezele, Aisha Yesufu, Nkoyo Toyo, and of course I can't forget Senator Grace Ben, Sarah Jubri. I could go on and on and on. There are those who had also, Nigerian women who have also paid the supreme price, like Mrs. Fumilayo Ransome Kuti, for instance, Kudirat Abiola, and some others I can't easily remember. Now, not to forget those who were also pioneer in their professions. Professor Grace Alele Williams, she was the first woman in Nigeria to be elected, to be made a vice chancellor of a university. She's still alive and kicking, although Mama is very old now. Justice Aloma Mukhtar, first female Chief Justice of Nigeria. She blazed the trail there. Chief Mrs. Priscilla Kuye, first female President of the Nigerian Bar Association. And of course, first female Senior Advocate of Nigeria, Mrs. Folake Sholanke, still alive and still kicking, although Mama is also old. She should be in her 80s now, I think. All right, so on this day, International Women's Day, we remember all of you. We salute your courage and your pioneering effort. Our women, our mothers, our wives, our sisters, they are our hope, they are our pillar of support, they are our motivator, and I dare say, they remain the conscience of Nigeria. Happy International Women's Day to our women. Right, let's take a quick break to prepare for our discussions this Thursday. As I said, the chairman of the Senate Committee on Financial Crimes and Anti-Corruption, distinguished Senator Chukwu Kautazi, is here. He will be joining me for today's discussion shortly.
It makes no difference to me really whether I win this election or not. I want you to believe me, and I'm not talking politics. For 25 years of my life, I fought for the freedom of Nigeria. Nigeria will attain independence on October 1, 1960. So it makes no difference to me whether the Sardauna or Balewa or Chief Awolowo or myself will become the first Prime Minister. So long as Nigeria is free, I'll be satisfied.
Okay, if you're just joining us, a very warm welcome to you. You're right on time. You just missed out on the opening. Our guest is here. It's his first time on Focus Nigeria, and he's been in the Senate for over 2 years. I wonder what we did to him that he's been avoiding this platform. But thank God. Distinguished Senator Otazi Chukwuka is chairman Senate Committee Anti-Corruption and Financial Crimes. He's the senator representing Enugu North Senatorial District. The good people of Enugu North Senatorial District. Distinguished, good to see you.
It's my pleasure to be here.
What a day to have you. Join me in celebrating our women quickly.
Oh,
except if you have anything against our Nigerian
How
women.
can I?
So join me in celebrating them.
Yes.
It's International Women's Day today.
Yes. I'm very, very happy for the women that have done so much for the development of this country. And there is no person born of woman who will not acclaim the great roles played by women. I remember my mother, you know, who, not minding that my dad packed up at 11, worked so hard to make sure that all of us were brought up very well.
Oh, you lost your dad when you were just 11?
11.
Wow.
So, you see, today, I'm celebrating Mrs. Roselyn Otazi for being a very wonderful mother, and other mothers like her everywhere.
Thank you so much, you know,
Thank you.
doing all of that. All right, we have the NFIU now, but I still had you there where you were leading the debate yesterday.
Yes.
What do we have now? Is it Nigeria Financial Intelligence Unit or Nigeria Financial Intelligence Agency?
What we have is Nigerian Financial Intelligence Unit, because after conference,
Okay.
you either go one way or the other.
Okay.
The bill I sponsored in July 2017 was Nigerian Financial Intelligence Agency Bill.
Okay.
the House sponsored, my friend, they sponsored Nigerian Financial Intelligence Unit.
Okay.
At the conference, we decided to take a financial unit and dropped the agency.
Okay.
That's just it. And everywhere you find that, you change
it
now.
be an agency.
We also had Director General in the one I sponsored.
Okay.
But the one he sponsored is director. We have taken director. Because if you look at the Financial Crime Enforcement Network, FinCEN, of United States, which is the equivalent of our agency, they have a director.
Okay.
So we also in the Senate, after looking at that, we dropped Director General and took Director now. And so,
the director is actually okay.
Yes, it's okay.
It doesn't demean the office.
No.
After all, very powerful agencies elsewhere are headed by directors.
Yes.
Director of FBI,
yes.
The director of this, director that. So
there's not even anything to the name. The most important is the job.
This job.
The mandate. So even whether you call the person
a secretary.
Secretary.
Or Secretary General.
Or anything you call him. The most important is the mandate as encapsulated in the bill.
And the mandate here is very comprehensive.
Very comprehensive.
The mandate of the NFIU.
Because we followed the recommendation 29 of the Egmont Group of Financial Intelligence Unit. What you just have to do is to pick that, domesticate it. In the EFCC Act of 2004.
2004.
2004.
Yeah.
They didn't pick all that. Yeah. There was a mix-up over there. Now that we have come back after almost 14 years, we decided to correct, because that's the problem with the Egmont Group of Financial Intelligence Unit. We never got it right. We said that we designated our EFCC as the FIU. That's totally wrong. You know, but then Obasanjo was hurrying to meet up international expectations. So a lot of things were done, and we are just coming out from military rule for several years. So they just piece up anything to meet the standard. And then with that, the world started soft pedaling on Nigeria. But we didn't get it right. They continue from that 2004 to just
try to correct
that we need to do it. But successive people who have been in the either as Attorney General of the Federation or in the EFCC did not just do their job. You see,
why was it impossible for at the level of the executive to also order standard, particularly in the president's office, president after Obasanjo? Why was it impossible for them to order standard?
I'll tell you
why did we have to wait till the Egmont Group got fed up with us? Because if you read that statement,
yes,
it was very, very, very disturbing.
Yes,
they got fed up with us.
Yes,
to just put it mildly.
After repeated
including having to send teams to us to teach us practically what to do, and we still refuse to do it, was when they now suspended us last year. Why did you have to get to that point? Even after they suspended us, from July last year up to now, we still also didn't see the need to do the needful.
Well, you see,
until another conference is staring us in the face, and then it became clear that they suspended us. If we still don't address that situation, we might be expelled. Was when all of these movement up and down started.
Well, I'll tell you one thing, Tunde.
It's Benga.
Benga, sorry. Sorry. Yeah. You see, I'll tell you one thing. You see, in Nigeria here, we busy ourselves so much running from one pillar to the other post, thinking we are doing the correct thing. But you get outside there, you discover that you are not just near even the mark. You know,
what is it? So
that's the whole thing. So our people are not doing, because I'll tell you one thing. In the fight against corruption, there are 3 line ministries that are concerned. Ministry of Finance, Ministry of Interior, and the Honorable the Attorney General of the Federation's office. These 3 line ministers are supposed to be doing that. But I'll ask you this, how many of any one of them has attended all these international meetings? Very few. They don't have time. They are busy here in Nigeria. You know, they are not sending, sometimes when they send people, they don't even send the high caliber level of personnel that will attend such meetings. You know, so once in a while you see them are coming. Most of the time they don't. And even when this issue came up, it didn't just come one day. After our series meeting we attend at the Financial Action Task Force office at the OECD Paris, they were raising this issue. that we are raising this issue that things were getting out of hand, and they were getting tired of us. While we were mounting pressure that Nigeria should be made, should be granted membership of Financial Action Task Force. You know, so they were telling us that's not just the issue. That we are not even doing.
So many
yes,
other
you know,
things.
and after such complaints and all that, I return. Each time I return, I do a letter to the 3 line ministries. Look, this is what is facing us. Look at the trouble we have. This is what we have to do to get out of it.
So you have been doing that?
I have been doing the letters. It's until the suspension of Nigeria. You know, when Nigeria was suspended in July, we saw it coming. You know, then the office of the vice president invited me and other people who are concerned, the 3 line ministers. You know, they came, they fished out that letter and saw the letter, there are written letters. And they said, no.
So we should actually exonerate you
yes.
from all, because when you look at this issue, the problem, the fact really is that there's enough blame to go around most of
I
the
said,
people.
I have my
but
rights.
we exempt you, at
Yes.
least from what you are saying. So no blame for you.
We didn't sleep on duty. But you see, the 3 line ministers didn't do. Even they didn't. It was even the vice president that decided to call. It was not his duty. It was when I failed with the 3 line ministers that now I wrote the vice president that I have done this letter severally to these people. They are not forthcoming. You know, then he took leadership. I give him all the credit. He called a meeting of the 3 line ministers and said, let's start. He even put a committee, presidential ad hoc committee, on the repositioning of Nigerian Financial Intelligence Unit, which he made me a chairman with all the 3 line ministers, you know, in place. We started the job after I have done my bit. After I have passed the bill in the House, in the Senate.
Okay, the bill had already passed that
Yes,
time.
in the Senate, because like once we discovered where we were, I didn't waste time. I quickly called the leadership of the Senate and told them, look at the implications for Nigeria. Let's all face the challenge of leadership and get this thing done once and for all. That this is not a time to go and go into petty politics. This is not time to come and say who is right and who is wrong. We are patriots. Let's fight for our country. Let us do something. And I told them, they said, okay, what do you want us to do? I said, I'm coming with a motion to sensitize the entire membership, 109 of us, so that they know where we are coming from, where we were, and where we are coming from, and what we're expected to do. So I did that motion, exhaustive motion, and they followed. Now that they followed, I came with a bill. Because instead of rushing with a bill, when we have
and then many will not understand
we won't understand you. You know, so I did the motion first. When the motion said through, I came with the bill and pleaded with them to follow suit that there was no time. In the history of the National Assembly, this is the first time a private member's bill came and spent 8 working days to get through.
Wow.
8 working days, the fastest in the history of this assembly. So, you know, so we worked hard and got this thing done.
What then delayed the whole thing? You weren't getting the cooperation from the other chamber?
No, when this matter happened, I tell you in all fairness, I've been attending this Financial Action Task Force meeting in Paris with my counterpart in the House of Reps. He knows all the problems. So when this thing came, I quickly called him. I did a motion. After talking with my leadership, I did a motion. I handed him a copy of the same motion I did.
So that he could do the same
Yes.
thing in the
And I also went into the archives and found that there was something already there. The 7th Assembly worked on this NFIU thing. They call it Nigerian Financial Intelligence Center. You know, so I looked for it and got the bill, dusted it, crossed the T's and dot the I's, and then say, I am going this, do your own, and let me do my own in this thing. We were faster. Before we went for vacation in August of 2017, we had completed our own in the Senate, but the House of Reps was not forthcoming. You know, so at the end of the day, it was in November, late November, they passed it. Yeah. Then the disagreement, you know, the domiciliation policies and all that. And I said, no. Recommendation 29, you know, paragraph 9 talked about operational independence. Yeah. These things we are doing is not something, we are not renovating the will. Yeah. So there was something already on ground. Yeah. The Egmont Group of Financial Intelligence Units have a standard. All you need is to pick that standard and domesticate it.
Yeah, not reinvent your own way.
No, you don't reinvent anything. Just like the EFCC, we picked it from the United Nations Convention Against Corruption. You know, since once we became a signatory in 2000,
Yeah.
we picked it and they gave it to Obasanjo, take it home and domesticate it. The same thing with ICPC. They picked it from the United Nations, domesticated. The same thing with this. Recommendation 29 of the Egmont Group of Financial Intelligence said everything. But Nigeria deviated, and that was why we came back and said, look, since these people have been complaining, let us get it right for once. They said they don't want it in EFCC because of the abuse of the confidential information that gets there. Yeah. And the suspicious transaction reports were not forthcoming. They said, drop all those things. And then let us have the legal basis. If that paragraph stated all this, that there must be legal basis of this. It's not yet, this body, it remains an appendage. Yeah. They want it to have a life of its own.
Yeah. Through a law.
Yes, through a law.
That gave back to it.
Yes, so we now say that if these people said this, let us be courageous enough to do it. But because there were already entrenched interests, people were used to the system of doing things in the past. And I say, yes, we have been doing that all these 14 years, and we never got it right. Must we continue in that? Doing the same thing and thinking that we're going to get a different answer? And I said no. So we mounted pressure that we have to do it. So what delayed it from that November to now was just domiciliation politics. Where do you put it this way? Or this way? They said, oh, you can put it there.
Whose idea was that it will be in the office of the National Security Advisor?
No, it was,
that also came up at the time.
There were several suggestions. Whether it's going to be in the National Security Advisor, whether it's going to be in presidency, whether it's going to be standalone. We did everything, But this, we say that the most important thing is that let us move this in a way. Okay. Let's just move it to meet the standard, the expectations of the people. This body you are putting in place will be on its own.
Exactly.
It's just even in the first bill I brought, because of what they were talking about, the independence of it, I said that even there, the funding of this thing will be a charge on the charge on the Consolidated Revenue Fund. But before you do that, you have to do the constitutional amendment. So we said, okay, let's first of all get this one done. Well, in the process of this constitutional amendment we are doing, I'm still bringing it up.
Okay. Because it has to be included among the agencies that are entitled to first-line charge.
Yes, first-line charge. So in order to make it truly independent, so that they can do their job without any political influence on them, you need to do that.
It's good that you just alluded to that now, because that means the job is not finally done.
No.
You still need to secure that financial independence by also amending the constitution to include the NFIU or the list of agencies of government that are entitled to first-line charge, like INEC.
Oh yes, that's what we want to do, so that they can be really autonomous, because he who pays the piper dictates the tune. Yeah. So, and we don't want it. So when I did that,
don't want wrong tunes again.
No. So when we did that, the Senate they looked at it before the second reading. They told me I have to remove this from this. It can't work because it has to go to. I accepted. I said, well, let's get this one done. When we get this done, now that we are still doing the amendment of the Constitution, we now introduce it. So that this body...
Because it will become imperative then. That once we have a law setting up the NFIU, as required by international standards, you definitely must then amend the Constitution.
Definitely.
Nobody in his right senses would then say it is not a necessity.
No, you've got it right.
Now, between the National Assembly and the Executive, how long does it take to get a clean copy of a passed bill ready and sent to the president for his assent? And in this particular case, where time is of essence, do we expect to follow the normal bureaucratic process?
Well, I'll tell you, we are proactive, not reactionary. Yesterday, by the time I was already presenting this paper, doing the presentation,
clause by clause, yes.
I had already discussed with the clerk of the Senate to give him the soft copy, to have a clean copy. I know by now the legal department of the National Assembly will be proofreading it. I know that by today, with the level of the work, the clerk of the Senate, Nesna Yewo, was doing yesterday. The question he asked me yesterday, and the discussion I had with him before the sitting started yesterday, that he would have finished everything by now, moved it to the legal department. The legal department will clean it, you know, and then move it to the CNA, who will now transmit to the presidency. It's very, very important because 11th to 16th, the Egmont Group of Financial Intelligence Unit will be meeting in Argentina. So we want this bill, by the time they are sitting, to have a clean copy that we already done something.
You will be attending that summit?
By grace of God.
Okay.
You know, so
hopefully you should be, as usual,
but whether I attend or not, the issue is comply with what...
Yeah, we should have a law to show.
Yes, that's just what...
I probably hurt that
yes,
that hurricane that was moving against us,
yes, that
through the suspension.
Very terrible. Because that would have meant we would have degenerated to what we were, where we were in 2001.
Yeah.
Well, you know, when the Financial Action Task Force put Nigeria away.
Yeah, because of our
the financial, the FinCEN advisory notes to the world that they have to be very careful that Nigeria, our jurisdiction is fraught with a lot of deficiencies in the financial transactions, international financial transactions. I want their banks to be very careful and all that. And then then we get into the highest risk jurisdiction. If we didn't avert this, we will get into the list of non-cooperative countries and high-risk jurisdiction territories that the world should be avoiding. You know, this is so. This will have truncated a lot of things we want to do for ourselves. One is membership. You remember, we're already coming close to getting membership of getting into the membership of Financial Action Task Force. Yeah. If not for the closure of the airport last year, they would have been here. Yeah. You know, so why we were
and then, of course, the suspension by the Egmont Group. The Egmont Group. Because when they subsequently wrote to us, they referred to the Egmont Group suspension.
No, they wrote to this because membership of the Action Task Force, Financial Task Force, also the same members of the Egmont Group of Financial Intelligence Unit. Yeah. So once the Egmont Group suspended us in their last meeting in July in Macau, they just forwarded it to the FATU. And they wrote us that the delegation that were of Financial Action Task Force that would have been visiting Nigeria in November, that they were no longer forthcoming until we comply with the Egmont Group of Financial Intelligence requests. Now, if not that, they will not do. So now we are doing. Number one thing is that we have to meet the expectations of the Egmont Group of Financial Intelligence Units. Number two is that now that if we meet it, we now ask them to reschedule the Financial Action Task Force, to reschedule
its visit.
Its visit. The only thing wrong was that, which was unfortunate for us, that just about 2 weeks ago, the Financial Action Unit had their first meeting. You know, so, and we planned everything to have a side meeting with the leadership of Financial Action Task Force to deliberate this issue. We came to the airport for 2 days. We couldn't move because of the Dana airline problem in Port Harcourt. The Air France didn't fly for 2 days. You know, so we missed that meeting. But we would have been there to canvass the issue of Nigeria. They were making efforts to convince them that the Senate, the National Assembly, was on the part of correcting this problem. And then that they should be preparing that next time they will give us a rescheduled time when they will visit Nigeria, because we want them to visit. Because if we not get there, at least observer status, Nigeria, before this 4 years expires, we will get at least observer status membership that will prepare the way for us to becoming a member.
It should bother us that 4 of us applied for that status at the same time.
Yeah, with South Africa.
The 3 others have been given already. Only us are still left in the code, as it were.
It's very, very terrible.
Okay, I'll be asking you shortly whether we anticipate anything that may make Mr. President not want to sign this bill, particularly maybe the little controversy that preceded the bill itself, where it was supposed to be domiciled, whether the executive also was involved in trying to influence it being in the EFCC, because whether we like it or not, the EFCC is an executive body.
Yes.
And the EFCC chairman, even up till last week, was still insisting that the NFIU has been able to perform so far only because it was part and parcel of the EFCC, because people are afraid of the EFCC and all of that. Whether that kind of feeling. And I think just 2 days ago, the vice president restated almost the same thing that the EFCC chairman said. And I'm thinking whether those kind of things may also delay the signing of the bill from the president. Okay, I just wanted to quickly read a few tweets so that they don't get too many later. YB Gauge says, Menga, this revelation that 85 parastatals agencies have not been audited since inception is a shocker. But what is most shocking also is that the at official EFCC is part of it. The corruption is very deep. If we have time, I will take you up on that, because that's also part of all. Those are the things put together by agencies like Transparency International when they rate us poorly in our anti-corruption war.
Yes.
If we have agencies of government that are supposed to be audited yearly and they don't do so and all of that. And again, where has the National Assembly been all these years? You know, the National Assembly too has also shirked its responsibility in that area. Merit Moore says, how could we forget our own Professor Dora Akuyili? Please let us celebrate our professor. Oh, yeah, I think she's talking about the International
Women's Day.
I'm so sorry. It's not deliberate. Professor Dora Akuyili, of course, has a conspicuous place in the Hall of Fame for Nigerian women that have made this nation proud. So we remember her today too, and may her soul continue to rest in peace. Who else is there? At African Politics TV, Happy Women's Day to the special martyrs who hold the aids to African democracy. Thank you so much. All right, let's get back to you. Are there things that may make Mr. President not want to put his signature on this bill?
No, I don't expect such.
Okay.
You know, because within this period of moving forth and backwards, issues were canvassed, and we cleared the air that the domiciliation of the NFIU under EFCC will not work. The reason is that if you look at recommendation 29, paragraph 9, operational independence of the NFIU. It says that the NFIU can be housed under any agency. And that's what the EFCC has always been quoting. But the second limb of that paragraph, they will not touch it. The second limb of that paragraph says that the core functions of the FIU must not run counter with that of the agency or anybody where it's going to be housed. So, and you can see there is conflict of interest already. And that was the reason why the Egmont Group were consistent in their demand that it must go. It must have a life of its own. You know, so it's not just a question of that. And then the fear issue. And I want to tell Nigerians, you see, we keep trying to create fearful individuals, not fearful institutions. That is totally wrong.
Exactly.
You're standing the logic upside down. You know, you go with anybody who is going to implement any law, we go with the stick.
Your actions and you respect.
And do all this. Overseas, you'll be getting into prison. They'll be offering you a cup of tea.
I'll be saying
with all the niceties. But you are moving in gradually. You are just inching in. They will be treating you very well. And all this, all the causes. Because you are a human being. But the law will be firm. In Nigeria here, you have to push down a house. You need to beat down somebody.
And you have to go in the dawn.
You know, so it will do a lot of funny things. You know, so all those things is doing standing logic upside down. There's no basis for such. People, once you create a very big, that's what we are doing. We want to create a very strong institution. And that was some of us, because I have been attending meetings outside the country, and we have been humiliated. I'll tell you one instance. We attended the Global Forum on Asset Recovery in DC last year. How did we go there? Very shameful. You know, they just saw that we are not organized. All the people who came for that, this person was saying this, the other person was saying that, and we came from
the same country
for a meeting. We never met before moving into that
into the hall for
the meeting. We didn't meet in Nigeria before leaving. We didn't meet in USA before going for the meeting. And
you got to the meeting, you sat separately.
Yes, and then we sat
speaking separately for the country.
Oh yes, and then the group led by Session, the Attorney General of the US, was just looking at us. Their group there, they looked and they said, "Okay, we give you time to come back." We came back again individually. We left individually and came back individually. And then they met with us again. We couldn't do anything. They said, "Okay, You have to take this in home. Maybe when you
Your
go back to
problem is
Nigeria, and now
home.
send back to us. We left. This is the kind of thing we're doing here. We want strong institution that can have the support of the government, not just anywhere. So we want this thing going under being under the CBN. Does not make it an extension of EFCC. Because if you read the law, if you read the draft of what we've done there, you see that nothing, no logistical support from anybody.
CBN,
Nobody is giving a logistical. And the ones appointed and confirmed by the Senate of the Federal Republic, the man is on his own.
He has a secure tenure.
Yeah, he has a secure tenure of
He must have
5
become
years.
a man of unsound mind.
Oh, yes.
Or become bankrupt.
Yes.
Before he can be removed.
Yes.
And it has to be upon a resolution of the Senate.
Of the Senate. So this we have got, and I've told you, in order to see make this institution strong, we have to make the funding on first line charge. Or the federation.
So that somebody doesn't
though you
use
don't
that
say
as a
to pull
string
the
somewhere.
person down, so that he can do the job. And then what does the FIU do? He collects information, analyzes it, and disseminates it to all the agencies of government. Not one. Not one. He sends it to all the agencies. Anyone that concerns the DMI, the Department of Military Intelligence, you send it there. That concerns Nigerian Intelligence Agency, NIA, you send it there. That concerns the police. That concerns the DSSS. NDLA. All this, you give the information to all the concerned people, not just one. You know, and in arriving this concern, I called all the stakeholders that should benefit from this
the
body.
The NFIU,
and all of them were there. All of them said that they don't want it under EFCC, except EFCC. And I said, what are you fighting for? We know that there are certain advantages EFCC have enjoyed by having that. But is that enough to put Nigeria in the high-risk jurisdictions? Is it enough to put Nigeria in the non-cooperative countries that are not following up? Is it enough to yank off all our commercial, all our MasterCards and all these things overseas? We start carrying cash again. You come to the airport, they will start frisking you to know how much you declared and what you are carrying. Is it good for us? Now people go with MasterCard. You travel anywhere part of the world without carrying any cash. You want to return us to that. You pay your school fees of children who are abroad with ease. You want us to come back to the dark days. Does that suit this country? So this is the issue. So this thing is good. This NFIU have passed. We strengthen the FCC. It will make it strong. Because if we face its duties now, it will not be doing too many things at the same time. It will concentrate on one. You know, be working on the information. Before he was looking for the information. Yeah. And
now he's going to get
working on
information that has been processed.
Yes, this one now. This one will get you information and give it to you. Process and put it at your doorstep. All the agencies of government that should benefit from it, you will now be doing their job properly instead of doing this one and doing the other at the same time. We want specialization of duty, you know, division of labor. That's just what the world wants from us. And then you look for the Mr. President looks for somebody credible that can man this position there, that will be insulated from the partisan politics, that will face the job and give the information. We have the respect of the world. And the fight against corruption will be enhanced. You will get it. People will not start respecting you, yes, because you are following the standard.
Sorry.
Yes.
I thought you had learned.
No, if 156 countries are going this direction, why should we be going the other?
Going the opposite direction.
It's just because we want to say that we have done this under successful the chairman of EFCC, that they have resisted it all through. You know, because all of them resisted it. They never wanted it. And we don't find the reason. For that 14 years they were resisting it.
How can it be difficult for you to find the reason?
You know,
you know that all the foreign donors were because of the NFIU.
You know, so that's the whole thing.
And if the NFIU was part and parcel of the FCC was the beneficiary.
But I tell you, since I came on board as the chairman of the EFCC, we have always worked very hard to ensure that EFCC is not underfunded. You know, we have worked very hard. All my people, my committee members, will do everything. Most of the time, we've written the presidency. They say that all the agencies of government, the people from the MDSA, should not be traveling abroad or going for foreign training. I wrote a letter to the presidency that EFCC should be excused. ICPC should be excused. Yeah. They must train their staff.
To be abreast of
yes, they have they must travel. They must be trained. They must be equipped so that they can do the job very well. Not just in Nigeria here. I did that letter. You know, in the head office they are trying to move into. I am the person who moved around and saw things after we assumed duties. I say, how can you stay here? Is it because the crime, the ICT crime level in Nigeria is low? How can you put the office of EFCC opposite hotels? Where they are? If it's abroad, they will interfere with the integrity of their system. They get all the information. I said, no, they shouldn't be there. That place is not. And we moved from 2 billion naira, we moved it to 5 billion. And we are still funding, doing everything for EFCC to move to their head office and then face their job properly. Not being bothered as being surrounded by all people who will be prying their eyes into their distance. Yeah. You know, so we have done everything to help EFCC to, but not as an individual, as an establishment, to make it very strong, to work. We're also proposing amendments to make sure that EFCC stands firm. That all because in the EFCC, presently now you have a board. Yeah. The board never met because that board
for a very long time the board is never constituted.
Is a clog in the wheel of the destiny. It doesn't allow the chairman to perform.
Exactly.
So we want to remove the board from him so that anybody who is there will face his duty.
Because the board is essentially a political gathering of politicians.
You know,
that is where board members will begin to bring their selfish interests. This person that you are trying to investigate is like this to the party. He has done this for the party and all of that.
We want to remove the board for EFCC. The amendment we are proposing, remove all those things so that the man can, anybody who is in that place, will face the job. Nobody will be bothering you. You won't have people who have interest.
I like that.
You know, who have interest, they will come over there and then make sure that the activity of the FCC will never come to fulfillment.
All right. The search is on now, or the search should be on for who should head this agency. If President Muhammadu Buhari is actually sincere with his anti-corruption work and he wants Nigerians to remember him for anything, it should be what should be his score at the end of the day, both locally and internationally. Should he also not be interested in looking for a person that will command respect locally and internationally?
Well, you see,
even though in the bill you have proposed that it should be designated a director, probably should he be a director from the civil service? I need to get that clear. Should he be a director from the civil service or somebody who is equivalent of a director in the civil service?
Which equivalent in the public service?
So he could actually be fished from the private sector.
Yes, you can. But what we are doing is we have so many qualified Nigerians in this place.
In the public service and the private sector as well.
We have too many qualified hands here. You know, but like Machiavelli said in his book, The Prince, you can judge a leader by his ability to recruit the right kind of people to work for him. If he succeeds in that, he has succeeded in everything. And if he fails in that, he has failed in everything. So we are looking up to Mr. President. We have done the job. We have got all the name callings on this job. I am convinced that we want to do the right thing for the country. That's why I was unrelenting. That's why I convinced my colleagues to agree with us. We are following what the Egmont Group of Financial Intelligence Unit demanded of us. It's written, it's in the paper, everything is there. Only thing you have to do is have the courage to pick that thing and domesticate it in the country. And that's just what we have done. We expect Mr. President to look around the country here, find there are many qualified hands there, conduct a very good interview to arrive at the person who is going to do this, fit and proper person to do this job, and give him this job. Nigeria will have respect again. And then the fight against corruption will be emboldened the more. You know, these are the things we need to do instead of, because I've said the corruption perception index of the TI, you know,
it's just a tip of the iceberg of our problem.
Nigeria should forget about that at all.
Face
all the issues here. If we continue doing the right thing all the time, it will be a thing of the past.
If the government is complaining about Transparency International, I have a list of about 10 global rankings here of different organizations. 10 of them. In the last 2 years, our ratings have been going down. I have a list here of 10, from Transparency International to International Press Freedom Index, which we have also falling down the ladder. Rule of Law Index, that's another global body. We are falling down. There's the Rand Merchant Bank's Africa Investment Attractiveness Index. We are going down. There's the Investment Attractive Index. Okay, we are going down. There's the Global Retail Development Index. Nigeria's rating is going down. There's the World Economic Forum Network Readiness Index. We are in the last 2 years, we are falling down the pecking. There's the World Internal Security and Police Index. Oh, our police is actually rated as one of the worst now in the world, according to this report. We rank, I think, 127th or so in the world as at the last ranking. I can't go on and on. And like I said, there's so much to worry us.
Yes.
That should also bother Mr. President if actually he wants to be taken seriously.
Yes.
on this anti-corruption.
And
if he chooses the wrong person for this office, the Senate has a say in it.
Definitely. You see,
Can we count on you and your colleagues to do the needful?
I tell you, for
in
sure.
case the president makes the wrong choice again.
No, I don't hope the Mr. President is going to make any mistake. This effort we have just done yesterday by the National Assembly, both houses passing this and getting a clean copy today, is a very big boost to the fight against corruption by Mr. President. The world will be looking at him that Nigeria is there is still hope for us, that we are still making effort. I'll tell you, in the past 2 months, the kind of visitors I've received from international agencies, from FinCEN, they sent, from the United States Embassy, from the UK the High Commission, all of them have been showing interest that let us get this right. Because Nigeria occupies a central position in Africa. Mr. President cannot be going around there as the champion against corruption in African continent. When domestically here, you are not getting things right.
I'm sure you have been seeing that joke of what the president said in Ghana, that Nigeria is ready to assist Ghana in its anti-corruption war.
Yes.
Ghana is rated number 88 on the corruption perception index of Transparency International.
Yes.
We are number 148. It's like somebody put it in a different manner for you to get it really. It's like the coach of Enyimba saying that he will assist Arsenal to get to UEFA.
Well, he spoke as the champion of the fight against corruption in Africa.
At African Union.
At African
because
level.
African Union made him so.
Yes.
But he should look at his country and see what his country is getting as a country.
His country is getting it right now. His country is getting it right by what we have done, because you can't clap with one hand.
It's impossible.
You can't clap with one hand. My friend Abiola used to say it.
It's impossible.
So
it's not possible and it can't be possible.
So we clapped now. The executive, the legislature. By the time he had put his signature to this, he will have sent a very big signal to the world that Nigeria, yes, diverse as we may be, we know we can disagree and know that, but we have made a decision for ourselves and getting it right. And the people who are on the other side should also understand that we are doing this. Nobody is hating anybody. Yeah. We just want to get it right.
It's all about
so
Nigeria.
That we'll get it right, so that Nigeria can be respected. And then our image enhanced in the International Committee of Nations. That's just what we are doing. Not selfish interests or not the little benefits you are going to get from here and there. It's not. We will have to think Nigeria first, and everything becomes secondary. All right,
distinguished. I'll come back to more work for you, because now that we have identified you as a veritable ally here in this crusade of conscientizing the public, particularly on this issue of corruption in the public space and all of that, there are more jobs that we need to give you here. Take home assignment. But let me read some tweets. Yeah. And some people are praising you. I think this must be members of your council. But let me start from the first one. Cecilia Okoroma says, let's all celebrate women. For a second, pause and imagine your world without a woman, or a mother, or a wife, or a daughter. Women are a blessing. Cecilia Okoroma says that. Thank you so much, very Cecilia. Mecca Fever says, your guest is an erudite senator. We miss him in Enugu and still appreciate his strides as a futuristic commissioner of transport. Futuristic commissioner of transport? That's belittling him.
No, I was before.
Oh, okay, you were
I was the commissioner for transport in Enugu.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
You must have done well there. That's what he's saying. And then more is saying, please tell my senator that I am very happy with him, making me proud all the time. That's Mo. You see what I said?
We thank God.
Sit down a man diligent, or sit down a senator diligent in his work, he shall sit among men, and not mere men, among kings.
We thank God.
Cecilia Koroma says NFIU bill, if passed, should have sound man like Chief. Oh, okay. Thank you. As to head it, I hear you. Thank you, Cecilia. Gbenga, please ask your guest what his opinion is as a senator in the nepotism, Nsukka favoritism propaganda by Enugu. He's not here to defend the Enugu governor. So don't answer that.
Well.
Yes, like I was talking about, more work for you. There's a process of crime bill. It's pending in the National Assembly. There's a mutual assistance in criminal matters bill. It's pending in the National Assembly. I understand that in the Senate, you have actually gone far with it. And I'm sure that this is also as a result of your work.
Well, you see, I want to tell you, I don't take credit for anything.
You are just doing your job.
Yes, I'm doing, and
Yeah,
I'm not
but
doing
what
it,
is the
I'm not-
status
I'm
of these two
And I'm
bills?
not doing it alone.
Okay.
I will have very great members in the Senate Committee on Anti-Corruption and Financial Crimes, very dedicated. They follow me everywhere and will do a job. I belong also, by virtue of being a lawyer, I also belong to the Senate Committee on Judiciary, Human Rights and Legal Matters. You know, most of these bills on anti-corruption are always sent to a joint committee to handle. And I have a very intelligent and hardworking chairman in Judiciary, Senator David Umoru. All of us in concert work. And I'll tell you, all the anti-corruption bills that in the Senate, they're almost done. What is holding us in the anti-money laundering bill, which we want the Office of the Attorney General to finish and send to us. I've been waiting for him. I've been calling them to send this bill to us. We have a way of doing our things in the Senate to get things in. With the mutual assistance, we are finished with it. It's like a line in the House of Reps. And I hope the same way. I hope I won't do the same thing I did. You know,
Having to name and
say
shame.
that this is
Name and shame.
Yes, I hope I won't do the same thing again. But if that is what is going to be done to do it, I will still take a stand at the floor of Senate and say, this bill has been sent to the House of Reps. It's taking eternity to come. Process of corruption is also, the process of corruption is there. And the fight, you know, the fight by interested agencies,
it's also what is done.
is also the reason. I also plead with them that what you can't manage, forget it. You know, because like in the process of crime, you know, we say that all the assets that have been seized should have another independent asset management body that can manage it profitably for the country. Instead of allowing the agency
to sit on them
and dispose them, we said no. That's what they say, holding the process of crime. You know, NDLA does not want to let go. EFCC does not want to let go. And I tell you, they must let go. Let us have this asset management of
process of crime
put by this
asset management committee.
Yes, they have a body, independent body appointed by Mr. President to oversee this so that profitably we manage these assets. You know, and the process put into the coffers of the country for the development of Nigerians. You know, so these are all these things we are doing. So if it means that I will still take a stand and say it, I will still do so. But we want to get this thing done. Everything in the Senate on the anti-corruption bills, I assure you, send any. Before you know it, within a month, it's passed. And we will take time to study them and work on them and guide the Senate when they go by clause consideration. We guide them and make sure that things work for our people there.
Thank you so much. I'm sure by the time we tell the final story of this NFIU, we will do an edition where we will mention those who have played positive roles, those who have even suffered humiliation, those who have suffered persecution and prosecution as a result of their stand on the NFIU in the past. People like Steve Orosaye, his trial at that time had to do with the role he played in the NFIU, FATU and NFIU issues and all of that. We'll do an edition to remember all of these people, the roles they play, and of course those who also play negative roles too will also come for their own hammer as well.
Well, in the fight to get things done, the right thing down.
Yes.
It's certain that you get your fingers burnt
that's
in the process. But my Bible tells me in Psalm 34:19 that many are the afflictions of the righteous,
but the Lord
sees them. He sees them through in all of them, not some. So anybody who is on the side of Nigerians to get things done, we will not be afraid of whether you are going to be blackmailed
or prosecuted,
or prosecuted or giving name calling. But the most important thing, are you convinced you are doing the right thing for the country? Once you are doing that,
thank you, distinguished. Thank you so much, distinguished. We have to go now. Distinguished Senator Chukwu Kautazi is the chairman, Senate Committee on Anti-Corruption and Financial Crimes. He's the senator representing Enugu North. He has joined us this morning for today's discussion. Thank you so much. I appreciate your time. Enjoy the day.
Thank you so much.
That's Focus Nigeria today. I'll see you tomorrow, God willing.